Okay, looks like I've gone live, and hello, this is Michael Allen Pierce, and today we're going to be talking about Roll20's many features. Um, we're going to be talking about how to make a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition character sheet using the charactermancer. And I'm going to throw out one curveball today because I've been seeing some comments about people being upset that it feels like you have to buy all your features all over again. And yeah, that's definitely understandable and frustrating. But there's a couple of ways to step around that. And to demonstrate, what I'm going to be using is one of the races out of the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. So I'm going to make a cleric, which is pretty standard, and I'm going to make that cleric a minotaur, a playable one. Woohoo! All right, so usually when you start up the game, you go to your journal, which looks like this little newspaper icon, and if your GM's been forward thinking, he's already made you a character entry. So in this case, I made charactermancer guy. So when you click on charactermancer guy, you'll see a couple of different bios. At first, a lot of people seem to look at this gigantic open empty space and think, yeah, there's nothing here. What am I going to do? What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to look over on this tab here and find character sheet. At which point you'll be prompted, how do you want to create this character? Use charactermancer, create an NPC, which is great for making independent monsters, homebrew monsters, or edit sheet directly. Now, if you know what you're doing, I say just go ahead and edit sheet directly. But if you're out of practice or not entirely familiar with all the intricacies of the game, the charactermancer is a great resource. So let's go ahead and click charactermancer. All right, so it tells you, "Ooh, welcome to the charactermancer, Dungeons and Dragons, woo!" You know, just all this stuff about. Let's just go into next. Okay, now I have a number of things in my compendium that cover a great number of bases. However, one of the things I don't have on here is the races that are connected to the Guildmaster's Guide of Ravnica. So let's say I wanted to use one of those. How would I go about doing that? Well, at the very bottom, there's an option for custom. Boop. And it lets you create your own race. And, ask for the name, Minotaur. And the Minotaurs typically get +2 strength and +1 constitution. And my Minotaur is a bit of a he's going to be a bit of a, how shall I say, Judge Dredd, lawful neutral. And Minotaurs, for whatever reason, are still counted as medium, even though they're technically huge according to the Monsters Manual. So you get to play a mini Minotaur out of Ravnica's guide, and their base speed is 30 feet. And just like anything else, I mean, some races come with some built-in proficiencies. One of the things I like about the Minotaur is that it has a feature that gives them proficiency in, say, intimidation. I have to go look that up real quick. You'll hear me flipping through the book. Alright, so they get an imposing presence. You have proficiency in one of the following skills of your choice, either intimidation or persuasion. Well, let's say he's a little nicer. So let's say he's a persuader. Yeah, so he'll persuade the crap out of you. There you are, persuasion. Boop. Alright. So then you also go through the custom race features. And this is just basically just writing down the features of the race. So it has horns. This is where you kind of feel like you're doing data entry, right? I'm just copying this down from the book itself. Your horns are natural melee weapons. Which you can use to make unarmed strikes. If you hit with them, you deal piercing damage equal to 1d6 plus your strength modifier instead of the bludgeoning damage normal for an unarmed strike. Isn't that wonderful? So you just go through one at a time. If there's more features, just click the button add feature. So the next one is Goring Rush. Use the dash action on your turn and move at least 20 feet. You can make one melee attack with your horns as a bonus action. Isn't that useful? They still have more features. Just go through every itemized feature in the book. The formatting of 5th edition is pretty consistent in that department. Hammering horns. Yay! Now there's one other feature down here, languages. So it's just a matter of adding proficiencies here. So you pick a language, and now it says here that the Minotaur is proficient in both common. All right, so we'll just put that down. Oopsies, common. Where'd you go? Where are the UCs? All right, and they also get another language. So a lot of this is just drop-down menus. However, the other language that they're proficient with is called Minotaur, and as you can see, we don't have that here. So we click custom, and we just write out what the language is. Minotaur. Ta-da! All done. And if you're missing features on the Roll20 compendium, this is easily probably going to be one of the lengthier facets of using the charactermancer, is just looking up your book and then entering the data directly. However, because most of us play physically with pen and paper and dice, this really shouldn't be that much of a hurdle for you. I mean, you're already spending about an hour or two making a character sheet normally. So adding data that you have in your book into the charactermancer really shouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, for the rest of this particular character creation method, I'm going to go ahead and use the built-in features of the charactermancer directly. Okay, so choose a class. I have a bunch of options, and I'm becoming a major fan of a certain subclass of cleric. So you pick your class, cleric. Pick your proficiencies, And any good cleric should have medicine when they finally run out of spells. And I think any good cleric should be proficient with religion. They get their cantrips, ritual casting, all that jazz, and then you pick your domain. I'm a major fan of the Tempest. Love that Tempest class. It's definitely emerging as one of my favorites because it gets martial weapons, heavy armor, and I just completely dig its domain spells. Alright, so next. Now, I'm going to use an ability score method that not many other people use. I got this ability score method from the Dungeon Dudes on YouTube. So, again, I'll click Custom. And they use a generous spread just to let you kind of get the excitement out of rolling a high stat, but it balances it out with a low stat. So you're forced to make a character that's complementary to your team rather than some people being stuck with a do-everything character and others kind of being stuck with an underwhelming performing character. Okay, so the high stat is 17. So I'm going to stick my 17 in Wisdom. I always want these guys to be survivable, so I try to put a modest stat in Constitution. So in this case, I'm going to go 13 there. Strength, this guy is going to be bashing things. He'll be a bashy cleric, so I'll put his other high stat in there, 15. And then after that, it's just a matter of pumping out the last few stats. And if you're curious what these stats are, the array that they use is 17, 15, 13, 12, 10, 8. They also have like an added bonus feature where if you really don't like how things are optimized, you could take one from a stat that the race gets a bonus to. Like if I really intended it, I could say take one out of strength and put it towards my wisdom under their method. But I'm going to keep it pretty strictly by the book at the moment, so I'll just use their spread. And after that's done, just click off to the side, make sure everything's applied, and click Next. Background. Well, if you're a cleric, you're probably an acolyte. Well, I'm just being quicksies here, just to show how fast making these things can be. I always like having my character speak Dwarven, because dwarves have the money. And I always think that, a cleric, especially one that's aligned with a good or neutral alignment, should probably know Celestial. Should probably know Celestial. Okay, so personality traits, I like rolling these randomly. I'll take a look at that when that's all done. But if you really wanted to, you could do the drop-down menu and select. Equipment, again, I usually just opt for class equipment when I'm running the game. So always go prayer book. Prayer wheels are kind of lame. My opinion, of course. He gets a warhammer, he's proficient. He gets chainmail, he's strong. And he'll get a light crossbow because he needs to engage at range sometimes. And he's priestly, despite being muscly. Okay, and here's what's fun about using the charactermancer is that it provides you your spells up front, and if you get confused, you could always get a description of that spell. So you don't have to go digging through a book to find it. But if there are spells that you're interested in a physical copy of a book that you don't have, after the character creation process is over, you can actually build that spell. And I'm debating whether or not to go ahead and make a video on that in the future. But yes, that is something that is possible within the purview of the Roll20 D&D character sheet. And mending. There we go. That's nice rounded. Okay, these are the the domain spells, so Fog Cloud and Thunder Wave, are always prepared and ready to go. Let's see here. I do like having my Cure Wounds available. I'm also a big fan of Guiding Bolt. That's always a fun one. Having long range sensors, so detect evil and good is always a prime thing for me. A lot of people love Healing Word. I'm kind of mixed feelings on it. For this one, I'm going to go with a defensive spell, protection from evil and good. We don't get feats as the Minotaur, or at least not starting feats anyway. And here we go. Age. I'll make him my age. He's 36. And he'll be really tall, so he's 6 foot 7 inches. Okay. Weight probably 280 pounds at that at that height and with that muscular build. Eyes, fiery red. Yeah. His skin. He's covered in fur. And we're gonna go with beastly. There we go. You don't have to be too descriptive when it comes to this part. I mean, you can either be light and humorous or descriptive and dramatic. I'm usually light and humorous when it comes to my character options. Okay, so the final step is clicking on review. It lets you know your race is Minotaur, class is Cleric. Apparently I have an overlap. I've chosen skill religion, but you already have that skill from your background. Okay, so you go back to your class and you pick something different. History. There we go. Then we go back to review. Oops. Sometimes there is a problem where if you go back and you do an edit like that, it forgets what you had selected otherwise. So go back to class. Okay, so my skill selections are still there, medicine and history. I have to go back down here and select divine domain. So back to Tempest. There you go, back to the review tab. So looks like I have all the benefit of my skills. Abilities, okay. You came from the Acolyte background. There's my bio. He's a 36-year-old, 6 foot 7, 280 pound, fiery red Minotaur. he's covered in fur. All right, apply those changes, and it builds your character for you. You should see a red loading bar just like mine. And bam, everything has been set up for you. And there we go. I can, because I was so quick on the background. Okay, let's take a look. Nothing can shake my optimistic attitude. Yes, I'm already liking this guy. He got optimistic attitude twice, so I guess he's really optimistic, or I could modify that later. He's apparently chaotic, so I'll probably have to change his alignment. Oh, someday take revenge on a corrupt temple hierarchy who branded me a heretic. I like this guy. And he's also inflexible in his thinking. I feel attacked. All right, so as you can see, there's the features that we wrote down customized wise, and you can also share them with your buddies in the chat window, and they can double check you with their own copy of the book or whatever, or they can trust you. Most of the time, I trust, unless something seems really wacky doodle crazy to me. Alright, and there's my spells. And here we go. Let me just show you how this works here. You click your spell. It asks you what level. I'm a level 1 character, so level 1. And tells you the DC and how much damage it does and how big it is. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, that's just remarkable about how easy this makes the process of just playing the game. And, here we go. He has his Warhammer. He's going to be using his shield pretty often, so he's probably going to do a lot of one-handed attacks. Does a 16 hit, maybe. Did he have advantage in roll 21? And then damage. Boom, 9. So there you go. That is how you use the charactermancer, and using the charactermancer with printed material at home is also very much an option that's built into the charactermancer. You should not feel intimidated or worried about using the charactermancer. Don't feel like you're being railroaded into using something that's kind of a basic option that you're not really interested in. It does supply you with the methods to use your printed physical material to run your role-playing games. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and close the video now, so I hope you all have a great day.